Good morning, everybody. We have a guest. Can you see him? This is Gus, my mom's dog. He has to be on a leash because he's deaf as a doornail. And he's a Springer Spaniel, so he wants to go check everything out. And he's pulling on me right now, hence the boomerang effect. Okay. Couple of things. I am going to put a post up today of a blog post that I have on my website, Motivate Me Love, which is links and codes to different Whole30 approved foods and other things that I find useful. Just in case you go shopping, you can have that. We had a post yesterday from Lo about getting off track, and that seemed to resonate with a lot of people. But at the heart of the problem, and I'm not picking on you, Lo, I'm just using you as an example because I know you're one of many, and this is what happened to me the first couple of times I Whole30'd back in the day. That is that you don't do a proper reintroduction. And then we also had somebody yesterday or day before yesterday, who was scared to do a reintroduction. And I get it. It's hard. It's freaky. You've had these rules and you get comfortable with them and you get scared to do things. You get scared to mess up how you're feeling. But in order to go forward, in order to move forward, in order to keep growing, you need to do a proper reintroduction. And the reason is because if you don't know what's bothering your gut, if you don't know what's causing you reactions, how are you going to know to avoid those foods in the future? You might decide, screw it, and one day go down on a pizza and have horrible reactions. And how do you know if that's the gluten or if it's the tomatoes? Or, maybe you can have spaghetti, you just can't have it with cheese, or any number of things. So you see where I'm going with that whole idea. Hang on, Gus. Okay. For instance, my friend Sandy, she did a proper Whole30, and then when we got to the end of her coaching program, she decided she wanted to do 30 more days without nightshades. She's Italian, okay? So she loves herself some tomatoes and cheese and all that kind of stuff, which she obviously didn't have the cheese while she was on Whole30, but she did have tomatoes. So she took out all nightshades for 30 days. After that, when she reintroduced tomatoes, it was a disaster. And I felt very bad for her, but now she knows. Now she absolutely knows that tomatoes are not her friend. And so going forward, if she's somewhere and she sees something with tomatoes, she can actually make a educated guess, or educated, not guess, what am I trying to say? It's still early, sorry. Educated decision, that's the word. She can make an educated decision on whether she wants to partake in something that might potentially mess her stomach up for the next 24 to 36 hours. So understand that reintroduction is not there to block your way. Reintroduction done, I guess it's still playing with me, done properly is the biggest tool that you will ever receive from Whole30. So if you've not printed out the reintroduction schedule, it's in the units. Terry put it there. I would say go get that, print out 2 or 3 of them, have one on your refrigerator and 1 or 2 wherever else you do meal planning, etc., etc. And then get the Food Freedom book. And I've talked about this before, but read the Food Freedom book once, and you're going to go, yeah. And then wait a little bit and read it again. And then it's just a brilliant piece of literature because you understand it's really a guide for how to live your future life. So I did want to talk about that. I also wanted to talk about, there was something else. It was about reintroduction. Oh, I know. Okay, so when you reintroduce something, so like it'll say, I don't know, I can't remember, but let's just call it day 4 non-gluten grains, or day 6 of reintroduction non-gluten grains. What that means is you need to have a quinoa, an amaranth, oats, whatever your non-gluten grain of choice is. You can have either the same thing or a version of that. So like you could have oats for breakfast and quinoa for lunch and amaranth or rice for dinner. You have to do all 3 at each meal, because what you want to do is overload your system a little bit, which I know this sounds counterintuitive, but you want to overload your system on it a little bit to see if it can deal. If your system can't deal with that said item in 3 meals, then you have a reaction to it. Because if, say, you decided to do non-gluten grains and you had oatmeal, but then you just had Whole30 food the rest of the day, your body might say, okay, I can deal with this. I'll just cover this up and not have a lot of reactivity, okay? I mean, your body tries to help you. I'm not being very sciencey or medical this morning, I'm sorry. Later in the day, perhaps, and when there's not a dog pulling me, perhaps, but that's what you're getting. Okay, so the reasoning behind doing it for 3 meals is to find where your tipping point is. If you know that non-gluten grains maybe aren't your friend, and then you decide, down the road someday that you're going to have some rice, and you don't have a reaction, then you realize that you can probably have it once in a while, and it's not a big deal. And then you can experiment on that. But you need to find out what the maximum effective dose is to know where your sensitivities and reactivities lie, for lack of a better word. So, say gluten. I know I don't do well on gluten, but when I did the gluten test, I had, some toast for breakfast and a pita for lunch, and I don't know. I don't even eat bread anymore. I don't even know what things are. I don't know. Let's say a waffle for dinner. And I was super sick the next day. Now I have Hashimoto's, so I shouldn't be eating gluten anyway, but that's another story. But if I got really sick, then I would know gluten is not my friend. Then I could go back and go, if I didn't have Hashimoto's, I could go back and say, well, maybe I can have the occasional waffle. And so I'd give my body a rest, and then I would try the waffle and see if there was an effect. And if there wasn't, well, then maybe I can have a waffle every Sunday. And that is how you build your food freedom. So I hope I'm not rambling, and I'm hoping that this makes sense. But it seems like everybody gets really lost in the food freedom and the reintroduction phase. And it's really the most important phase, and it's not the one you want to put off. If you want to do a whole 60 because you want to clean out your system for 60 days, or you want to clean out your system for 90 days and put off your reintroduction until you've healed, that's fine. But this, doing a Whole30, going and having some drinks and a piece of pizza, and then getting back on Whole30 and calling it round 2, no bueno. All it is yo-yo dieting at that point. And I'm not being evil and hateful, because we've all done it. I mean, back in the day when there weren't so many resources, that's what I did. So I'm not being a hypocrite, but I'm just telling you there's an easier way, and learn from my mistakes, okay? So don't Whole30, clean everything out, put some junk in your trunk, and then go back to doing it again, because now all it is a diet, and you're never, ever going to get to food freedom. Me, Terry, Christine, Amanda, we have a couple more coaches coming on, Teresa, I said Teresa already, didn't I? We're here to help you. So we are volunteering this time in this Facebook group for Whole30. And we want to help you, okay? So if you need help, reach out. You can DM us if it's something you don't want everybody in the world to know. But do reach out, because Whole30 is a lot of work. And you hate to put that much work in and not see the results or get to food freedom like you want to. You know what I'm saying? So let us help you. Okay? All right. I will see you guys tomorrow. And then I think it's Teresa after me. I better check that out. All right. But I'll also put a link. It'll say, I don't know, it'll be from Motivate Me Love. It'll be like links to coupons or something like that. So be on the lookout for that if you want to go shopping. Okay, bye. Gus, say goodbye. Isn't he the cutest? He's so deaf.